What's up YouTube, Mr. MSC here, and today we're going to be discussing the DRUID. These are changes that I think would be interesting to make to the DRUID, could make certain builds a little bit more viable, because again, I do hear a lot of people want a little bit more viability and a little bit more, some more stuff that they can play in the end game, and I agree. I think there's more that can be done and stuff can be improved so that certain skills can be added and kind of brought back to life or brought to life for the first time. So let's dive in on the DRUID and have a little discussion on that. The first thing that I would say is the summons. I think there's two ways to go with the summons right here, personally, that I believe. The first one is just make all of the summons available. Just make it so you can have all of these guys out, or at least some combination of these so that you can do something. Because I loved what they did with the Spirit Wolf where they added the cold damage. I thought that was really cool. I love that they added that in. But it's like now, you're still either just running all three of your dire wolves right there, or you're just running your big bear or whatever it is. And that's it. So maybe it's like, can I have a bear and then some of these, or mix and match these? There should be some more combination, some more something for all of this. And I think a lot of us can agree. Now, the idea that I think does come up is, does it try and become too much like the Necromancer then, where you're just trying to make big army of all of this stuff? And I think personally for many, that's fun to them right there. But I think for a lot of people, it's like, I'd rather change it up. I'd rather the build be something new or something different. And so in that case, I would say, do something like adjusting them so that these summons are just like cracked, right? They're just like super good. Okay, I can only have 3 of these, or I can only have 5 of these, or whatever it is, or 1 bear, but they're just like insanely strong, insanely fast. They just like murder everything, and you really get to add a lot of speed and strength to the summoner instead of just sitting, waiting for your 3 wolves to run around and attack a couple dudes here and there and, go do whatever it is, right? So I think that's kind of the two opinions, or at least that I have, or the two ways that I see it going. We're either creating the Zoo Druid, which is maybe a little bit too much like the summon Necro. And again, I think I'm probably more okay with that, but for some people, maybe they're not. Or we're just making them very strong. Now, additionally, I think there needs to be an unkindness of ravens, or a conspiracy of ravens, whatever it is, the word. A big old bunch of ravens. I do like that they increased the hits again. No, a murder is crows. I think it's an unkindness. Crows are a murder. So I do love that they brought the hits back, because the quick casting and constantly having to recast them, I just wasn't feeling it as much. So I do think it fits better here. But when I think of a big old hunk of ravens, I think you want to get just tons of them in there. And they're just flying around like a whole flock, just kind of murdering a bunch of stuff and having a grand old time, blinding all sorts of things, all of that stuff. So I think increasing the number probably would be something that I would look for, because 5 just... That's just like... it's okay. But it's just meh. Just not quite my style. I don't know. Moving forward, maybe give me 15 ravens or 10 ravens, at least something. Make it a little bit bigger. A hurricane of ravens, yeah. Moving a little bit further on, but staying in the cemetery, I think vines need some help. I'm almost on the idea of just making vines immortal as well, just like ravens are. Because it's not like they're doing a lot, And they just get focused down and just killed so quickly. And it's just one of those things where it's like, maybe just kind of let it always be underground. It comes up and does its little thing and whatever stuff, and you get a little life back or you get a little whatever, but it doesn't improve it. You know, making it immortal or something isn't going to be, in my opinion, some like unbreakable, game-changing thing that's going to make this build suddenly like amazing or anything like that. But it might actually make it where a vine becomes more viable and more fun to use, right? And something that people will actually consider. And there's other ideas like, yeah, vines could apply curses, or maybe vines can like heal themselves, you know, quickly, you know, whatever stuff to do it if you don't want them to be completely immortal. But there's just no reason to use it right now. I think there needs to be some reason to use it, or at least consider throwing it in. And a lot of the reason it's not usable right now is because as soon as you cast it, it just dies. And it's like, okay, I'm done. So that would be my thoughts there. And again, I'm not trying to fully design it. I'm pointing out problems a little bit, suggesting ideas of what I think could help. But at the same time, you know, I'd be down for them to try more stuff right there. Yeah, maybe they just need to replace vines with TikToks or something. Moving into shapeshifting, I think Fireclaw needs some adjustment. First off, I would adjust the Firestorm synergy to actually be that of Fissure. If you want to stick in that idea, I think there's a lot of pieces here, right? One, it's kind of like that at least would make it more fun using a Phoenix. So you could have that because you'd get those synergies, which would be nice for the Firestorm from that. But additionally, I think Firestorm just needs more, or Fireclaw just needs more ability somehow, right? Maybe it needs to have something like a fire splash damage on hit. Maybe it's something that like in werebear form, you can use fire skills or something so that you could hit with it as a bear and also cast Firestorm or Molten Boulder or something like that while you're doing it. You know, there just needs to be something going along with it there. And I think for bear overall, a lot of the stuff just feels a little weak in its regard. But I think Fireclaw is kind of an interesting idea. It brings in this fun idea where you're investing in the fire skills over here and investing in this, but then you can't use any of these fire skills while you're in bear form. So they really just completely become dead points overall. And, you know, so I think having some way to help that would be really interesting. Maul, I think, could also have some improvement. It has the increasing extra damage with successive hits. And, you know, it's kind of like, to me, this is almost an idea of like, maybe it's got something similar to Smite where it always hits or something, right? Again, there's just attack rating issues for a lot of melee characters knock them down so much. And I don't want all melee to always hit all the time, but I think certain skills, especially ones that kind of sit, you know, in a certain state and just don't quite get that love they need at the end game, and don't quite have anything else going for them, could be something like that. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure with Maul. I think there's some idea right there to give it that, so you can run around and just really always hit with some really good damage. And then, like I say, Fireclaw, I think, could use a lot of beauty. I actually like Shockwave and where it's at. I think Shockwave is actually decent, especially if you're running like a summoner and you want to be a bear who's shockwaving to stun stuff and whatever. But, you know, then that comes back to the idea of like the summoner needs to be improved overall. Over on this side, I think it's all pretty decent. Rabies, I think they buffed a little bit. I think maybe there could still be a little bit more buff. And a lot of it probably comes down to just the poison damage over time. Again, if we drop this in and look at it, you can see that like you know, just at 28 skill points, it's over 14.8 seconds. And I think that just the long, you know, rabies time. And I know rabies needs to have that like kind of longer poison to spread, but it just takes so long for a lot of the poison damage in this game to really affect that it kind of nerfs itself down a ton. So something that you saw with the with Plague Javelin on the Amazon, they dropped that down to like 3 seconds or whatever it is for all of its damage to be over. I don't think it's 3 seconds. It's like 2 or 4, but around there. But they dropped it down to way less. And now Plague Javelin actually seems like an interesting side pickup. Something that you can just throw off and really blow up some monsters. Oh, it is 3 seconds. And really do some good damage with it. Whereas before, it's like I would never touch Plague Javelin ever. So, you know, I think that there is some benefit to dropping some of the just length of poison damage in this game down, because again, 15 seconds, it's like any build that's waiting 15 seconds or 20 seconds for poison damage to actually apply, the build is just kind of dead in the water if it takes you 20 seconds to kill, you know, a group of monsters or something, right? So that is my thoughts there. Now, the last piece that I would make some changes on is Armageddon. Now, Armageddon is just a mess of a skill in a variety of ways. One, it takes a lot of skill points to get to it. I don't know if they need to make it go all the way through Hurricane and everything to get over to it. They could keep that. Maybe I think it just sticks down the fire tree. And I know it has that physical damage, but hey, so does like Molten Boulder and stuff, right? So I think that's something. But what I would improve with Armageddon is probably a couple things. One, I would make it keep up with you better because it drops behind you so often. If you're running, it is so far behind you. Unlike something like Hurricane that actually keeps up with your character pretty well. By the time something hits, you've already left the screen. It's hitting so far in the back. So I think that it just really, if it kept on top of you, it would maybe have some benefit. And then additionally, I think there could be a little bit more of a splash on hit or just a bigger drop area on the hit of the impact. And I think that's something that would improve it just a little bit more, because again, there's a lot of times where it just doesn't hit. You think it's gonna, but then it just misses and it's just not coming down very quickly. And so, you know, it's like you just don't get the points down into it really to use it. So I think it's such a cool skill and such a cool idea. And especially if I was like a bear running around using Fire Claw, but I could also cast some of these fire skills and I had an Armageddon raining down around me. I think that build sounds like something that would be awesome and super fun to use. But it just doesn't. It just has no love. And it's a level 30 skill. And you just feel like, man, you really got to make level 30 skills something cool, something that people want to use. And I'd love to see this become some sort of endgame build that actually had some viability, something like that. So anyways, that is my thoughts for the Druid. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys being here. Peace, YouTube.